f/0.95, that's still the gold standard for uber fast lenses, and normally they're very expensive and they are very big. So you will only use an f/0.95 lens if you really want to use that uber fast aperture. So my name is Thomas, and today I've brought a lens to you that is very small and very lightweight, and still it's f/0.95. It's the TT Artisan 35. I'm super excited to give this a go. So let's see how good it is. There are actually two affordable f/0.95 lenses out there for your APS-C mirrorless camera, and that's the 7 Artisans 35. I already reviewed it 1 or 2 years ago, and then this new TT Artisan 35. The retail price of this one is $209 or 249 euros. The 7 Artisans used to be maybe 20 bucks more, but I think today you can get deals. So basically, they're both the same price. This lens though, the TT Artisan, is considerably smaller, and it's also got a more simple optical arrangement, only 7 lens elements, and the 7 Artisan has got 11. So maybe there is a compromise in quality, but we have to find out, right? The first thing that strikes your eye is this kind of funky retro design, a zebra design, something the East Germans did in the 1950s and 60s a lot. So this is all, of course, an all metal lens, and they sort of machined in these grooves. It looks really cool in the flesh. I didn't like it so much on pictures. Still, I wonder if many people would just prefer an all black lens as an option. We've got the aperture ring here in the front, again, half stop clicks, beautiful feel to it, and the focusing ring, close focus is 0.35 meters to infinity, so that's all very nice. Note that all these numbers are engraved, similar to the 7 Artisan 0.95. This is a very nice finishing touch, and again, it's a very small lens. It's, of course, all mechanical. There is no electric contacts whatsoever. If you want to use the IBIS on your camera, you need to dial in the correct focal length, otherwise IBIS won't work. And just for comparison, this is the TT Artisan f1.4. Whoops. And you see it's thinner in diameter, but the length is actually almost the same. This is a much cheaper lens. This goes for, I think, $89. It's also a very good lens, but note here everything is just painted on, it's not engraved. So this lens is a step up in terms of finish. Oh, the filter threads are 52 millimeters, by the way. See this small grippy bit here on the lens barrel, just beneath the focus ring? It's very good if you want to unmount your lens, because you can grab it here. The rest is way too slippery, and you can't grab it here because the focus ring will move, but these grippy bits are very handy to mount or unmount your lens. So that's a nice detail that TT Artisan put on here. The 2 points why I always praise TT Artisan lenses are clicked aperture stops and a hard stop at infinity. And yes, this lens has got clicked aperture. That means you've got two click stops between each full aperture, or clicks at every half aperture, let's say like that, all the way from 0.95 to 16. This is kind of a nice linear aperture ring, not logarithmic as many other TT Artisan lenses are. And the second thing is the hard stop at infinity. And again, we've got these 3 small set screws here on the barrel. I didn't try out if it's adjustable, because on my copy it happens to be perfect, but keep in mind TT Artisan sent me this copy for the review, so maybe this is kind of hand-picked, but I assume it's adjustable, and it really helps in your everyday photography. It makes shooting landscapes, faraway subjects so easy. You just hard stop at infinity, and this lens is small enough to be an everyday walk-around lens. You're not going to shoot this only at f0.95, so it really makes sense to have this convenience. This lens is super cool as an everyday lens, and I welcome TT Artisan for this approach. So this is a lens I'm not just going to review and shoot a review for, but I think this is a lens I really will like to use in everyday conditions, because it is so small and so convenient. Basically, it's as convenient to use as the TT Artisan f1.4 35mm, which is, in my opinion, one of the best 35mm manual focus lenses out there for APS-C mirrorless cameras. So, and this lens, it's a little bit more heavyweight, but the size is basically as compact. Okay, now I'm going to shoot a tree over there at 0.95 and f1.4 to find out if this lens is really f0.95. And I will use that lens for a comparison as well. Let's have a go. And now I'm going to shoot with this lens at f1.4 the same subject. And f2. Okay, let's compare. Okay, so this is at f0.95, gives me 1/12,000 of a second. I put it on f1.4, gives me 1/10,000. That's a third f-stop less. The other lens, that's the 35 f1.4, at f1.4 gave me just 1/7,500 of a second. So the 1.4 on the 1.4 lens is less speed than the 1.4 on the 0.95 lens, which is funny. And f2 gave me 1/5,000 of a second. So you see that the difference between open aperture and one stop down on both lenses is much less than one full f-stop, but that's kind of normal. I always experience that with all these lenses. Keep in mind these f numbers, they are a geometric number. They are about the relative aperture for a center ray compared to the focal length. They don't have to do with the actual transmission, but still you see that 1/7,500 is the fastest I can get with the f1.4, and 1/12,000 is the fastest I can get with the f0.95, which is more than 2/3 of an f-stop faster. So I think it's kind of, it makes sense that it's an f0.95. That was a series for checking out the sharpness for landscape shots. whenever you stop down the TT Artisan lens, it becomes much sharper. At f1.4, it's kind of crispy sharp, at least in the broader central area. At 0.95, it's decent sharp for portraits, but not good for landscapes. However, when you stop down to like 4 or 5.6, the TT Artisan becomes a super good, crisp and sharp landscape lens right to the corners of your frame. So that's a good thing. I was comparing the bokeh between this f0.14 and the 0.95 lens, and let's see the difference. Bokeh is maybe not the strongest point of the 0.95. It can also be a bit wild. You have to like these looks. It's certainly not perfect at 0.95. You will use the 0.95 when you really need it because of low light stuff, or if you want a somewhat funky appearance in your photos. But there are other lenses that can do it better. The 7 Artisans is better at f0.95. It's still not perfect, but it's better. Of course, there is a lot of color fringing going on with a lens like this. Again, only 7 lens elements. So in the bokeh, you see in front of your actual focus point, it turns magenta, and the rear you see a green tint to your images. I don't think it's so bad, given the extreme nature of this lens, but it's certainly noticeable. If you're looking for optical perfection, this might put you off again. But this lens is not about optical perfection. It is about making f0.95 usable, and in everyday it's a small and very unobtrusive lens, so keep that in mind when judging this lens. This lens has got a beautiful 10-bladed aperture. This is f1.4, by the way. This is f2, and you see it has this light saw-edged look to it. So the bokeh balls will have a distinct shape once you stop down. They won't be round. On the other hand, already at f4 you get beautiful aperture stars in your night shots. So again, this is sort of more good for a general purpose lens because it's good for night shots when you stop down, but it's maybe not the perfect shape of an aperture for a very fast lens that you want to use at 1.4 a lot, or f2 for a lot of background blur. If you want smooth bokeh balls, you want 0.95, but again, the bokeh balls have quite harsh outlines. So yeah, it has some character, this lens, that maybe not everyone will like. But the aperture stars on landscape shots, they're just perfect. Time for the verdict. This is the smallest and most lightweight f/0.95 lens out there for your APS-C mirrorless camera, it is considerably smaller even than the 7 Artisan, which is already small by itself. So I welcome TT Artisan for making a lens like that, because it makes f/0.95, it makes this uber fast aperture kind of achievable for everyone. This is an everyday walk-around lens, a travel lens even. So that is very, very good. And that is the reason why I'm not just shooting this review with this lens, but I'm sure I will use this lens for myself a lot for my leisure photography. On the other hand, the downside is the performance at f/0.95 is far from perfect. This is a 7 lens element design, otherwise it wouldn't be so small, and it comes with compromise. In terms of sharpness, it is decent for portrait shots. The bokeh is very, let's call it characterful. I even like the bokeh, but it's far from the smooth, the smooth sort of bokeh you maybe normally would appreciate as such a fast aperture. So if you are okay with these compromises at open aperture, then this lens is for you. If you want better performance at open aperture, maybe try the 7 Artisans or try other lenses, but then they will be even more expensive, and at that point you maybe want to just go full frame and get a nice f1.4 lens for full frame, you know. So I think this is a cool niche in the market that TT Artisan covers with this lens, and I'm very happy. I like the handling, I like the mechanical quality a lot, and I also like the performance when stopped down. So there is a lot to like. And that's it for today. I hope you liked this video, even found it useful maybe. If you did so, then please leave a like, subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so yet. Many thanks again for your support. And if you've got any questions or comments, write something in the comment section below. I love to read all your comments. I will happily answer every single one of them. So have a great time, live long and prosper, and I see you in the next video. Bye.